Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake ELLENBOGEN, and today we are going to be talking about something a little bit different. I have an issue with the way the NFL is working as far as the coaching carousel is concerned. I'm going to get into exactly what the issue is and how to fix it. Before we dive into it, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogie, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is BetUS, and you can get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit and 125% on your next two deposits using the promo code YouTube150. So if you're looking for a sports book, whether it's the NBA, NHL, getting ready for the MLB, or you're getting ready for the big game, aka the Super Bowl, then definitely check out BetUS, who is a sponsor of this video. Be sure, as always, to bet responsibly. All right, guys, I did my digging. I've had this thought for a while, okay? And now I feel even more justified in this thought process. So this comes off the back of the fact, look, this video does not get made if I didn't just see that the Buccaneers are narrowing down their offensive coordinator search to one in-house guy and 3 Rams offensive assistants. This is going to come off as just complaining, but it's a real issue, and it's something that I know a lot of you bring up a lot. I bring it up every now and then. It does make Sean McVey very impressive and more impressive than maybe, people thought. But this is getting out of hand, and this needs to be fixed. And I hope Sean McVey, being a part of the competition committee, can at least bring this to the table. I am not sitting here, and I'm not saying that I'm against mobility. I'm not saying I'm against promotions. What I am saying is that I'm against what looks like, at this point, almost collusion. And I'm not even saying that there is collusion. I'm not even saying that's even my biggest issue with this. My biggest issue is that the NFL has compensatory picks if you are a minority coach, okay? That's not even an issue of mine. It's that it's only if you are a minority coach does a team get a compensatory pick for you. And to me, I think not only does that devalue them, all the minority coaches, but I also think it hurts actual coaches. And let me explain. So, look, right now, the Rams have Nate Shieldhaas, who is the pass game specialist, Dave Ragone, who is the quarterback coach, and Nick Caley, who is the tight ends coach and pass game coordinator, all interviewing for the offensive coordinator job that was originally held by former Rams offensive coordinator, stop me if you're confused here, Liam Cohen, who is now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let me make this very clear. This is ridiculous. There's that Udinsky guy over with the Vikings who was getting a lot of interest. And for whatever reason, Tampa's not interested, right? He comes from the Kevin O'Connell coaching tree, which Kevin O'Connell comes from the Sean McVey coaching tree. So why is it only Rams coaches that are being interviewed? It's not just Udinsky, it's other guys as well. But anyway, my point here is that this isn't just me complaining. This is an issue. It's an issue because the fact is that this has been holding back the Rams. It's been holding back the Niners. It's been holding back any team that knows how to develop a coaching staff. It just has. And it's got to stop. I'm not saying the ability to go out and hire somebody from their job and give them a promotion needs to stop. I'm saying that this has to stop, this rating of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 coaching staffs, and then all the others are totally fine. I mean, think about this, okay? In Sean McVay's career, this is what I've come up with. I made a list. Guys that he lost to become head coaches. These are guys that were coordinators that were immediately thrusted into a head coaching role right off the rip. We're talking Brandon Staley, who was the defense coordinator for the Rams and arguably the greatest defense they've had in their franchise in 2020. And he goes, and the Chargers end up, hiring him as the head coach. Then Kevin O'Connell, offensive coordinator. I mean, at this point, his career was kind of in flux, wasn't really having a lot of success. Comes to the Rams as the offensive coordinator And of course, they end up winning the Super Bowl in 2021. The next day, he becomes the Vikings head coach. He's gone to 2 playoffs. And of course, Staley went to a playoff as well. Those are the only coaches that are the only coordinators that have gone from a coordinator, or only coaches that McVay's lost that have gone straight to the head coach that have not been compensated for. I understand the Rams are going to get another 3rd-round pick for Raheem Morris. That would be the 3rd coach that they had that became a head coach right away, right leaving from the Rams. But here's the deal. I don't believe, and I'm not saying that maybe there shouldn't be anything for incentivizing hiring minority coaches, because I do believe there's that issue in this league. I'm not saying there's not. But there needs to be a better job of this. This shouldn't just be one thing is solved and the other isn't. Because as I just said right now, you lose a guy to a head coaching spot. If he's a minority coach, you get 2 3rd-round picks, one year and one the following year. The Rams would technically have 4 3rd-round picks if Kevin O'Connell and Brandon Staley were minorities. And you could argue they're just as impactful of a loss for the Rams, because you're telling me they go from a defensive coordinator who turns them into a number 1 defense, they lose him, and then they replace him with a minority head coach, right? A minority defensive coordinator. So, okay, it takes a little bit, and then they eventually get the picks because he ends up going to be a head coach. But what about Kevin O'Connell? Right, Kevin O'Connell goes and, he ends up winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. Then he goes on to the Vikings, and Liam Cohen takes over as the offensive coordinator. It doesn't work out for whatever reason. A lot of injuries, all of that. Now he's a head coach 2-3 years later, right? So you could talk about that's 4 picks there. Then you have coordinators, right? So they lost these guys to become coordinators. The Rams lost Matt LaFleur, okay? Offensive coordinator for the Rams. They lose him to the Titans because Sean McVay is calling plays. So therefore, if he calls plays in Tennessee, it is indeed a promotion. In addition to that, they lost quarterback coach Greg Olsen, not once, but twice. Once, of course, to the Raiders to go with John Gruden, offensive coordinator with them. And then, of course, he came back, and then they lost him again to the Seattle Seahawks. Quarterback coach Zach Taylor would go on to go to a Super Bowl. He's 5-2 in the playoffs, 2-time AFC title game appearances. Would go on to be the offensive coordinator for 1 year with the Dolphins before becoming a head coach. And if you think for a second he became a head coach because he was with the Dolphins and not because of his connection to Sean McVay, you're out of your gourd. Quarterback coach Zach Robinson, who Sean McVay brought in right from PFF. Offensive coordinator now with the Falcons, no compensation. Assistant head coach and tight ends coach Thomas Brown goes and becomes the offensive coordinator with the Panthers. He gets some interim head coaching experience with the Bears. Nothing. No compensatory. He is a minority coach, but that's only for head coaches and GMs. You see my issue with that? So that's that. Tight ends coach, pass game coordinator Wes Phillips joins Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings to become the offensive coordinator. Tight ends coach, pass game coordinator Shane Waldron joins the Seahawks as the offensive coordinator. Assistant head coach and linebackers coach at the time, Joe Barry, goes over and becomes the defensive coordinator for the Packers. Assistant head coach Jimmy Lake goes and becomes the defensive coordinator for the Falcons. Assistant special teams coordinator, and there are 3 of them in the Sean McVay era that have gone on to become special teams coordinators. Jeremy Springer became a special teams coordinator for the Patriots. He's still there. Dwayne Stukes became a special teams coordinator for the Broncos. And Matt Daniels, who actually played for the Rams, became a special teams coordinator with the Vikings, and he's still there. The safety coach / defensive pass game coordinator, Giro Evero, ended up becoming a defensive coordinator with the Broncos. He's currently the defensive coordinator in Carolina. And then Those are just guys that went and became coordinators. Now think about other positions, right? So now you have offensive assistant KJ Black. He goes for the same role with the Falcons. Offensive assistant Jake Peets becomes a pass game coordinator for the Seahawks. Offensive assistant Nick Jones goes and becomes an assistant offensive line coach with the Falcons. Assistant offensive line coach Andy Dickerson goes and becomes the run game coordinator with the Seahawks. Senior offensive assistant Jed Fish goes and becomes the quarterback coach with the Patriots. He is now a head coach in college football. Defensive backs coach Jonathan Cooley goes and becomes the defensive pass game coordinator with the Panthers. Cornerback coach Aubrey Pleasant goes and becomes the defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator with the Lions before they scapegoat him and fire him. He's back. Game management coach John Streicher ends up going for the same role with the Patriots. I can't hate on it. He's going and reuniting with the guy that he's been working with in Tennessee in Mike Vrabel, but still. Coaching analyst Tim Burbenich ends up being the pass game coordinator and game management guy for the Falcons. And last but not least, director of pro personnel Ray Agnew goes and becomes the Lions assistant general manager. After losing Brad Holmes to the Lions, who became the general manager, he brings over Ray Agnew. So that is a mouthful. We should not be talking about that many guys that are just leaving the building. I mean, think about this for a second. If you're just talking coordinators, Sean McVey has quite literally accumulated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 coordinators. He has accumulated 13 coordinators on his resume, coaches that have gone and promoted to coordinator 13 in 8 seasons. That's insane. And that's a great resume for Sean McVay. It looks very good, and coaches do want to come in here. But if you want to tell me for a second that this hasn't maybe thrown off the Rams a little bit, you don't think it would have thrown off the Rams in 2022, winning the Super Bowl and then having all that turnover essentially? You don't think it would have hurt them in 2019 after the Super Bowl in 2018? Like, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not blaming the coaches as the reason the Rams don't have more Super Bowls or anything like that. But it just isn't really fair. And when you think about it, the entire point of compensatory picks are to make things fair. If I lose a top-notch free agent, like say that the Bengals don't bring back T. Higgins, they are entitled to a third-round compensatory pick based on the fact he's probably going to get paid more than anybody in free agency, right? So that's the thing, is that there is only a compensatory pick for minority coaches. I don't even have an issue that minority coaches generate compensatory picks. I have an issue that only minority coaches generate compensatory picks, because here's the real situation. And this is the thing I really want to bring up, because I think some people might take this the wrong way and think that I'm, poo-pooing on the idea of this, because I actually do like, incentivizing when I believe there is an issue. I do believe black coaches are held at a higher standard. I think Gerard Mayo was treated unfairly. Okay, so I am an ally on that side. I'm not at all trying to throw anybody under the bus there. But hear me out when I say this, okay? People would be concerned if you gave, a bunch of compensatory picks for losing coordinators. Do you know why? They would think that it would make teams overpowered in the draft. Well, here's the deal, okay? It would make teams overpowered in the draft that are doing a better job than other teams. I mean, I'm sorry, Sean McVay, by 10 years from now, Sean McVay is going to have probably, more than 50% of the league is going to be attached to Sean McVay's coaching tree, head coaches. I'm not kidding you. That's what it's looking like. So, as great as that sounds, now what this would do if you started, compensating a team for developing coordinators, developing other roles, well, guess what? If you did that, you could push coaching development on other organizations that seemingly don't give a rip on the level of a Sean McVay, on the level of a Kyle Shanahan, on the level of a Matt LaFleur, right? I mean, I'm just saying. So look, I have an idea, because, the first step to solving any problem is recognizing there is one. And now we can take action because we know there's a problem. So the problem here is that There are teams that have incredible coaching staffs and are essentially getting nothing out of it unless these coaches are minorities. They are not getting any compensation, right? So you have all these teams that are going in and poaching year in, year out, poaching teams. And so much about the NFL is based on continuity and kind of just having this. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is, right? Chemistry, all that. So when you start losing your coaches every year, it makes it really difficult, right? You have to work 10 times harder. Well, here's my pitch. There's an issue, so let's solve it. If you don't want to get rid of minority exclusive coaching compensatory picks, that's totally fine by me. This is my pitch. How about you bump each pick up by 1 round? If a minority coach becomes a head coach, you get a 2nd round pick. If a minority front office member becomes a GM, you get a 2nd round pick. If a minority coach becomes a coordinator, you get a 4th round pick. And if a lower level minority coach becomes a position coach, what I mean by that is, say, offensive assistant, quality control, all of that, and then they become a quarterbacks coach, or they become a wide receiver or pass game coordinator, whatever, they get a 6th round pick. Okay? So what does that mean for the rest? Well, the idea is still incentivizing the minority coaches. And some people say 2nd round pick is too rich. Yeah, but it sure would solve some problems, right? Right? So now we talk about what it would be for the others. And I'm totally fine with them being equal, but if people, I'm willing to meet in the middle here. But you look at the head coaches and non-minority head coaches. I mean, Kevin O'Connell is a valuable member of this Rams organization. He goes and he becomes the head coach for the Vikings. They just won 14 games this year. He's been a great head coach for them. And the Rams got nothing for him. He should at least net them a 3rd round pick. So should any front office member becoming a GM should also net a 3rd round pick. Any coach that becomes a coordinator should net a 5th round pick. And any lower level assistant that becomes a position coach should net them a 7th round pick. So all I'm saying is that you don't have to get rid of the minority coaching scale. You can bump up a round. If you say 2nd round is too rich, who cares? Because guess what? Guess what this does? This now adds more picks into the NFL draft. Do you know what that means? That means more jobs, right? That means more guys being selected, right? They have the salary cap to do this. You can't tell me for a second that the NFL doesn't have the funds to make this possible. And imagine how interesting it would get if you had a compensatory 2nd round. That would be pretty sweet. Now, I understand some people will say, well, what's stopping somebody from hiring a bunch of minority coaches as their head coaches to get that 2nd round pick? The fact that minority head coaches aren't getting hired at a crazy rate, despite the fact they already generate a 3rd rounder. And again, anybody complaining about this, well, do better. If you started, I'm serious, if you started incentivizing coaches that become coordinators and getting 5th round compensatory picks, which you could absolutely do, not only would Sean McVey have 13 5th round picks over the course of his career, but it would now force other teams to maybe look at other options. Maybe there are guys that while they're qualified, they have this aura around them because they're in the Sean McVey organization, right? Maybe other guys would get opportunities. And also, again, maybe, just maybe, there would be better development of coaches. Because the way I see it is it's a league problem, and the same teams constantly getting poached tells you it's a league-wide problem. The best coaches deserve the jobs. So start developing talent, and if you want compensatory picks, there you go. I think it's a very easy fix. I'm not saying that, there couldn't be a loophole or two in it, but there's a loophole with the salary cap. Teams use, void money, right? The void deals. They move money around. Like the salary cap is a myth, right? That's what we always say. So there's already loopholes. There's a loophole in the game where you can basically, if you get to a 4th and 1 or you get to the goal line, there's no way that you cannot score. We saw it in the championship game against the Commanders. The Eagles tried the tush push 5 times, and the Commanders' only way to stop them at the 1-yard line, because the Eagles are able to basically line up over the middle. So they're over the line of scrimmage. So basically it's an illegal formation that they never call. So the only way to stop that is to essentially time the snap. And Washington mistimed the snap 5 times. And they came out and they were like, if they do it again, we're just going to give the score to the Eagles. So there are loopholes in the game. There are loopholes everywhere. This wouldn't be the one thing that I'd be concerned about with the loophole, right? I mean, come on. So that's what I say. I'm curious what you guys think, but I'm pretty fired up about this because I just went through and it kind of just makes you feel a little different. Sean McVey has brought 3 guys to head coaching jobs. He's gotten 13 guys to coordinator jobs. He's gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coaches to other roles, or, director pro personnel, Ray Agnew, to another role. At some point or another, there needs to be compensation. I stand by that. No one is going to change my mind. This is the way. We'll see if it ever gets done. I'm not against the minority coaching thing, but what I am against is the idea that, you're going to let all these teams, and again, we talk about the loophole. I'm more concerned about the loophole that allows these lesser teams that constantly have to look for new coaches. It allows these teams, if they wanted to, I'm not saying they are, but they could absolutely collude and take down the bigger fish. They could go after Sean McVay's entire coaching staff. So I'm not saying that's what's happening, but open your eyes if you haven't already. Do some research. Look at the coaches that Sean McVay loses every year and tell me that it's not just Sean McVay. There are other coaches as well. But tell me that maybe not on the level, you might not agree with me on the level of giving a 3rd-round pick to any coach, a 5th-round pick to a coordinator, a 7th-round pick to an assistant that becomes a position coach. But you have to agree to something, right? You have to believe at some point or another that these guys should be compensated. I think the coordinator thing needs to happen. I'm surprised it doesn't already happen. To me, a 5th-round pick for a minority coordinator should have been part of that whole deal. So I'm curious. I don't know if they're going to bring it up in the league meeting. I don't know if the competition committee is going to put this out there, but it needs to be out there. And it's not anything against the minority coaching effort that they're trying, because I agree with it. And again, you could just bump up the picks. It has everything to do with the fact that you need to be compensated if you're going to be losing your coaches, because you are playing in an unfair, you're playing at a disadvantage every year. The Rams essentially go into every year needing to fill all of their coaching spots most of the time because these other, organizations suck and they can't keep a coaching staff longer than a year or two. Okay. And they can't develop anybody and no one wants to go there. So that's really what it comes down to. That's how I feel. I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's how I feel. I think it's getting a little ridiculous at this point. And to me, the tipping point was, the Buccaneers are interviewing 3 Rams coaches and only 1 in-house guy. Are you kidding me? How is that allowed? Like I said, you didn't ski over with the Vikings. There are plenty other guys. I mean, come on. This is getting ridiculous. Somebody has to stand up and actually say something. And I'm fine being that person. So that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button. Also be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and drop a comment. I'm curious what you guys think. And I know I'll get some kind of mixed reviews on this, but I mean no disrespect. I just think also, while I mean no disrespect, I also think that there is a lack of respect being shown to some of these other guys that don't, they don't net any compensation. I mean, again, it's ridiculous at this point. The Rams are not on an even playing field with some of these other teams. and it shows, you know. And in addition to that, it's like on top of not, you know, on top of having to redo your coaching staff every year, it's like you also, you know, you lose compensatory picks if you sign anybody. So it's like, obviously that's with everybody, but it's like the Rams, really, you're doomed, right? So I hope they figure this thing out. I don't know if they ever will, but to me, this should raise some flags. The fact that the Bucs are interviewing 3 Rams coaches, I'm happy for those coaches, but that's a little ridiculous at this point. Like, interview other guys. Like, why is it just the Rams? People should be loud about this. Anyway, that's all I got. You guys take care, and I'll see you soon. Later, folks. All right, guys, just a quick update here. The lounge, which I've told you guys about after every single video, we are now at 6 videos. We have almost 700 subscribers. So if you haven't gotten in and checked out my new side project, definitely be sure to do that. Interviewing voice actors and athletes and entrepreneurs, musicians, all the good stuff there. Be sure to check it out. The link is in the description below. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.